Hi there, it's Michelle from CNC Designs. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in New Zealand, and I'm here bringing you another global monthly video hop. Once a month, myself and demonstrators from around the world create videos based on a theme to share with everyone. So this month's theme is boxes. So I will be showing you how to make a box similar to this one out of 12 by 12 cardstock. So it's quite a generous size box. You can actually fit a coffee mug in there. So it's a 4-inch by 4-inch square box because it's being made by using the 12 by 12-inch cardstock. Now I'm going to change it up a little bit because Stampin' Up! Has just come out with two-toned white core cardstock. So it's one color one side and a slightly lighter shade on the other side. But I'm going to show you a technique to bring out the white core from the center, which hopefully will work well. This is just done with a garden green 12 by 12 piece of cardstock with some embossed panels, which aren't as obvious because it is the same color, but I will show you with this technique how to make those really pop. And I'll be showing you how to make either this bow or a similar one. I've got an idea of how to change it up a bit. But before I forget, in the description below the video will be the names and links to all the other demonstrators that are participating this month in the Global Monthly Video Hop. So once you're done watching my video, giving me thumbs up, subscribing, you can then click on the links and see lots of other boxes that are being made by demonstrators, which will hopefully inspire you to do your own gift wrapping for this Christmas or any other times that you need to have boxes. I will also list the products that I'm using with the product codes. So if you wish to order any of them, just contact your Stampin' Up! Demonstrator with those codes. Or if you're in New Zealand and don't already have a demonstrator, you're welcome to go to my website, michellekritchley.stampinup.net, and you can order directly there or contact me through the website if you'd like to order anything. So let's get started, and I will show you how to make this box. Now, this box has no stamping on it. The sample I'm going to show you, I've already pre-stamped a few things. Hopefully it all comes together and works right, but you'll find out. So what you'll need is a 12 by 12 piece of cardstock. I am using the new two-tone cardstock from Stampin' Up! So this is Pool Party. I'm going to use Pool Party, and that's the full color on it. And if you turn it over, it's a slightly lighter shade. So if I show you the other piece. So for this box, you need, to make it the way I showed you there, you need 1 1/4 pieces of 12 by 12 cardstock. But I'm going to do something slightly different, so I'm going to use 1 1/2 sheets of cardstock. And I'll show you how to score and cut your cardstock to make this. If you need a smaller box, you could size it down. That's fine. But I'm going to show you how to use it from the full sheet. So what you need to do to start with is you take your 12 by 12 and get your trimmer out, which also has a score button, a scoring tool. So the gray one is a scoring tool. It's not sharp. And then you've got a dark one that matches the background, and that actually is a blade. So make sure you slide that out of the way. You do not want to be using your blade at this stage. And I'm going to talk inches, even though normally I talk in metric, in centimeters, because I live in New Zealand and we do things with metric. But because I'm using a 12 by 12 inch piece of cardstock, which turns out to be 30.5 centimeters, it's easier for me to talk in inches. And if you have our Stampin' Trimmer, you automatically can convert everything because there's inches down here at the bottom and there's centimeters at the top. So if I'm talking inches, you could simply go up. So the score I'm going to be doing is 4 inches, and that's roughly 10.2 centimeters. It's like 10.1 centimeters. But if you have our trimmer, you can easily follow along and just do it with the inches. So what we want to do is we want to score on all 4 sides at 4 inches. Now this paper is much thinner than our normal cardstock, so you don't want to press too hard. because you don't want it to rip. So treat it as if it were designer series paper, which isn't very thick. So 4 inches, and we're just gonna do a score line up and down gently. Don't know if you can see that. And then turn it and do another score line. So you're just gonna turn it every time, line it up on the 4 inches and score it. When you line it up on the 4 inches here, don't forget to press up, because sometimes you line it up and if it pulls down a bit, you're going to be off and you might not notice at the bottom. So once you line it up to the inches over here, make sure you're sliding it all the way up and down, nice and easy. And then another 4 inches. Now, to get those panels, I'm going to cut sections out of each corner. So the panels that I put on here are 3.5 inches square. I'll take the lid off there and you can see. So those are 3.5 inches square. That leaves a 1/4 inch on all sides because there's a 1/2 inch left over there. So I'm going to, the way to do that, so you don't waste any, because otherwise you're going to waste that, is this is where we're going to trim. And hopefully I do this right because I don't have spare paper. So I'm going to want to slide it over to 3.5 inches, but I don't want to trim it past my score line down here. So what you could do to make it easier to tell where it is go ahead and fold on your score lines. Now, don't really need a bone folder because, like I said, it's actually quite thin here. So if you fold on your score lines, you're going to get your 9 sections of 4-inch squares. And at this stage, we're just preparing, because you could have your box the darker shade, or you could have the outside of your box the lighter shade. Now that kind of looks white in this light, but you can choose later how to do that. Right now we just want to know where the cutting is going to go to. So if we go at 3.5 inches here, and so our score line should be 1/2 inch to the right of the blade, and we're just going to come down to this score line. So we're going to come straight down to that score line. I'm just thinking in my head, is that what I want to do? Yeah, I think that's what I want to do. So straight down till you get to that score line. And the other thing is, on the side they'll have inches here. However, I've changed my cutting section guide to centimeters, which you can do. You can purchase the metric one here in New Zealand and other countries that use metric, but so it's just going past the 10. So there's that section, and this is still there, and there's my score line. Now that's going to be used to glue it together. Now what we want to do next is we want to cut that section off, because we're going to use that as our panel. So I could just go from the bottom, but because I don't want to change everything up here, I'm going to show you at this section. So now you're probably thinking, oh, you do 3.5 centimeters. But the thing is, we only need one extra little panel to glue the two together. We don't need little bits hanging out on both sides. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the whole 4 inches off here. And I could start where I ended, because I know I'm already at the score line, or I could go from the top. And this time, up. I'm pushing too hard. Up. I don't know why I'm having trouble. I just changed my blade. I shouldn't have trouble. There we go. Got it. So now I've just cut where that score line was. So you could use scissors and cut there, and you could measure over here and cut there. So I've got this little panel. So when we glue it together, I've got a section to glue to the side there. And now I've got this piece left over. Now this piece, I only want it to be 3.5 inch square. So it's right now it's 3.5 inch by 4 inches. So I can simply cut it down to 3.5 inches. And that last section you could keep. I'll show you what we might be able to do with it. So there's my 3.5 inch square, and that's my leftover piece. You could keep that and use it elsewhere. So that square is going to be sitting here. Now if I turn it over, you can see the difference in shading, and the same if I choose to have the light outside of the box. You can see that section there. So I'll do one more, and then I'll cut the other two off camera so it doesn't take up too much time. So I think it's easier to do it with the darker shade. So we're going to come over 3.5 inches. This is after we've scored everything 4 inches. So 3.5 inches. Oh, come on, my blade is misbehaving. Down to that score line, which is 4.5 inches down. So that's the first part. So we have our tab to glue, and we have this extra section here. And then I can simply do 4 inches to cut that. Oh, there we go. There we go. So then that gives us a 3.5 by 4 inch piece, and we'll just simply slide it over to get it 3.5. I think I will do the other two on camera just so everything. So that little strip is extra. So this time I'm going to do it slightly different. So this time I'm going to cut down the 4 inch. So it's going to come out exactly the same. It's just some people's minds work differently. So right now I'm going to cut on that score line. Doesn't matter which way around the tabs go. It's all going to stick together. So if you want, you can do the down 4. So now we've got that. And now this piece, I want it to be 3.5. And you'll see it's going to come out exactly the same. So I still have a little tab there, and I have the cutout piece. So now I have tabs on both sides that'll glue to the one piece. And this is the piece that we want to be 3.5 inch square. So we got 3.5 there. I'm going to rotate it and get 3.5. And that little piece we might use. Okay, so let's show you this again. So the alternative way to do it is to cut down the 4 inch score line to start with. So that's the cut 4 inch score line. And then you can cut the 3.5. And then you don't have to worry about where you stop because you're just going to run out. It's going to run into where you've already cut. See, slides right off. So there, we've actually got where we've got little tabs to glue to the sides for our box. But I haven't decided whether I want that to be the inside or that to be the inside. So this one is our 3.5. Turn it, and we'll get our another 3.5 inch square. And that's our spare. Okay. Now, with your second piece, you want to cut 6 inch piece because we're going to make a lid with this. Plus, I'm going to use some of it to do a bow. Hopefully it comes out the way I want. Now, I was just about to cut, but then I looked at the bottom and I noticed I'm slightly out. So besides pushing it up to the top, you need to make sure you push it to the side. Oh, that's why I'm out. My side was popped out. So if you're not familiar with our trimmer, you can pull the side out, and that allows you to measure up bigger sections. So you can go right up to 17.25 inches there. And you slide it back in, and when you slide it in, this is exactly, that edge there is exactly 6. And I had it popped out like that, so my paper wasn't sitting tight. So just slide it in, problem solved. Fortunately, I noticed before I tried to trim it. So now that I'm pushing it up the top, I can see the bottom is nice and flush to this side here, which I know is 6 inches. Makes it quite convenient for cutting the large paper, or if you're scrapbooking or card making. So I want half of this I'm not going to use, so I'll put that aside. And the other half, I want two 6-inch squares. So there we go. Cut that other half, and there's two 6-inch squares. The one that I'm going to use for the lid of the box, I need to score it so I can do the edges for the lid. Now you might think, okay, well the lid needs to be 4 inches square because that's the size of the box. However, if I were to make it exactly 4 inches a square lid, it'll make the sides pucker because it's the exact size of that. So you need it slightly larger than what size your box is going to be. So a 4-inch lid would mean I need to take 1 inch off either side because 4 plus 1 plus 1 equals 6 inches. But I want to have slightly less. So on the trimmer, I'm just going to go to the line just below the 1, which is about 2.4 centimeters, and that's, what are these? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that must be a 16th. So that's probably 5/16. So 5/16 of an inch. But it's easier just to say, see that line, 1 less than the 1? There's the 1, and we're going to that line there. So in this case, centimeters better because the line measures up better with the centimeters. So 2.4 or 15/16 of an inch. I'm going to score around the whole thing. So that's going to make the middle square slightly bigger than 4 inches. So I'm just looking for that mark there, which I believe is a 5/16 of a mark. It happens to be exactly 2.4 centimeters, so that makes it easy. And I'm going to do all 4 sides. Okay, so you might not be able to see that, but if I fold it on the score line, you'll be able to see where it is. Okay, now because this is two-tone cardstock, you could do it all one color and then the inside will be a different shade, or you could mix and match 2 different shades. I have some other boxes I will show you afterwards. And then that other piece here, I'm going to use that with the Take a Bow die to do strips to do the bow like I showed you. So this is the die, the Take a Bow die. And this one is in the mini catalog on page 39. So it's just one big die, but it cuts 6 different strips. And so the bow that I showed you earlier, this bow, was done with the designer series paper. If you want to make bigger bows, you need to cut more strips. And I have a video I did in September showing how to use this die to make all sorts of different bows, as well as some things that are not bows. So have a look back in my previous videos. It's called Take a Bow. I think I called it Take a Bow, Stampin Up, How to Use the Bow Die. So you can go there to see lots of different ways to use this die. And in there I even show you how to make the bow that's shown on page 39 in the catalog. So this one, we're going to use this extra piece, and it fits perfectly on a 6x6 piece of cardstock or designer series paper. So I'm going to run that through, and that will give me the strips for the bow. So when you run that through your die cutting machine, you end up with the 6 pieces, and if they don't come out, just a gentle bend, but also those holes are for pushing the paper out. And you are left with a little bit of scrap, but I always see things in my scrap. when I do die cutting. And look at that. It's like a perfect little banner. So that can be used on a card if you want. And you have a little bit left over, you could do tags and another shorter banner there. So I don't always throw scraps away. I tend to just hold on to them. So we get all those pieces, and I haven't decided which direction I want to use them. We'll do that after we get the box made. So you end up with 3 large pieces, 2 medium pieces, and 1 small piece. And I have an idea for this. Hopefully it works. So the box. I think I want to go with the light side on the outside because I'm going to do the darker one on the inside. So decide which side you want to be outer, and then fold and burnish everything the direction that you need it to be. So with the sections that I'm going to glue to the inside, these tabs that I essentially made with the leftover when I cut the corners off, to make it easier, you should just snip the edges, because if we try to line it up perfectly, it might not line up, and if you have any sticking out the bottom, you might not be able to wiggle it to where you want. So it's easier if you just snip your tabs at a bit of a diagonal, and then you don't have to worry about trying to line things up. Because there's nothing worse than gluing it together and seeing a little bit of this hanging off the top, and it's just too close that you can't snip that little section off. It doesn't matter so much if it's a solid color, but if I was doing this with, say, designer series paper, you might see the paper sticking out the top. So you just do a little snip at the edge. Where's my other ones? And a little snip to that edge. And a little snip to that edge. Doesn't really matter. They don't have to match. You're not going to see it. Oh. Snip there. And snip there. Okay. So that's everything snipped away. And then we want to make our box. So liquid glue is your friend because it gives you wiggle room. So hopefully my glue cooperates. So what you want to do, so I've decided I'm going to have the light on the outside and the darker on the inside because I'm going to emboss these panels and show you that technique, and hopefully it'll make it pop. So come on, glue. Okay, I might need to open a new packet of glue because it's not cooperating. Must be camera shy. Alrighty, so one thing you should always have at hand are spare adhesives. Okay, this should work. You could do it with tear and tape if you want, but liquid glue gives you a little bit of a leeway. And so because they're on the same side, I'm just going to put a bit of glue on there. Just bring it up and just try to get your edges together. And this one's not as critical as it's going to be when we do the lid. So bring your sides together. So kind of just wiggle them together, make sure that they're sticking basically lined up nicely. And then what you can do is you can use your bone folder to help press the inside down. Now I'm going to get this side done before the glue dries. So just bring it up to the edges. Sometimes I use my finger here to help bump it up to the edge so I can feel when it's at the edge. Okay, I'm not sure what happened there. I was in the middle of the video and it just stopped. I haven't run out of room. So we will just carry on. So I've got those two sides put together. And we'll put the other two sides together quickly. Hopefully I don't have the video stopping again. I just got a new SD card, so I'd have plenty of room, because I have been running out of room on my phone from all the photos and videos, etc. So glue on the two sides, and then again just stick them together edge to edge best you can. And then this one, stick it together using my finger to hold the edges in place for a second or two. And then I'm just going to press it down. Now I did forget, I think on my other one, sometimes I put the panels on first, but I forgot about that, so we'll do that last. Okay, so that's the base of the box. So the lid of the box, let's see, I'm thinking I might go with the same color lid as the bottom. So if you imagine, we've got our panels there, the darker panels and the lighter lid, or do I want the darker lid to go with the panels? I'm not sure which one I prefer. I think I will go with the lighter. The lid and the base will be the same color. So I'm going to turn it inside out. See, I didn't have that decision on my prototype because it was all one color on both sides. So just give it a burnish along those score lines. Now remember, those were less than 1 inch. I think we determined they were 15/16 of an inch. But they were 2.4 centimeters, which was easier to find on there. So now we have to stick it together, similar to the base of the box. So what you want to do is you want to just trim straight up your score line, and then just give it those little slices out the edge. And then you can just trim up your score line. Hold it up closer so you can see. Busy watching what I'm doing and not noticing if you can see it on the video. And then just give it a sliver. And then turn it opposite. I find it's easier to do it that way. And then just cut a little sliver out of both sides. And the last little bit, straight up the score line, and then the little sliver. Okay, and then we can glue this one together. So, similar to the other one, I'm going to put the glue on the tabs. Let's see, did I do it the way I want it? Yeah, that's the right way around. So I'll just put some glue on those little tabs and glue the sections together. Now, when you glue this together, the way to make sure it's going to fit, take your box that you just made, turn it upside down, and then you're going to put, don't make sure your glue doesn't stick to it, you're going to put the top on there. So I've got the top sitting on the bottom of the box, because if I put it at the top, see, that's a bit more squishy. I could squish it in, but I know the bottom is a bit firmer. So having it at the bottom, I should have done those two sides. Then you just want to press it down to where you've got the glue. And then you can adjust it if you need to. So that actually sits quite nicely. I must have cut it at a really good measurement. So that fits quite nicely. It's not going to bunch it. And then once you're happy with that, you can just then push and burnish it afterwards. So we're going to do some glue on here. So the first two sides go together okay. It's the last ones that you got to make sure don't get too small, don't scrunch up too much, because that's where you're going to have trouble with your box. So that's the bottom of my box. Flip it over. Make sure your glue is not going to stick on your box. Put your lid over there. And then I'm just going to slide those bits and hold them in place, making sure that it's not scrunching my box. So that's actually quite a nice loose fit. I'm starting to get better at the measurements here. And then you can just push your pieces together. That's why you use glue, because if you need it to, you could slide them out slightly. And then you can just burnish them. And burnishing helps to push the glue over to the edges as well. Because you notice I didn't put it too close to the edge, I just did a big swirl. Okay, so now that's my lid, and it should fit nicely. So it's not puckering any of the sides, because if I'd done it, as I said, exactly 4 inches, if that lid was exactly 4 inches square, it would be the same size and it would squish, basically it would pucker it by squishing it in like that. Now, let's do the exciting thing. So that's a box made. Nothing too exciting there, but now the fun part. These panels, I'm going to use the Snowflake Sky 3D embossing folder. We're going to emboss them, and then we're going to do a technique using filing to expose the white inner core. So if you're going to do any of this, you want to have the part that you want to use, the raised part, the part that's sticking up. So with Stampin' Up embossing folders, the easy way to do it is the word Stampin' Up. That side is going to end up being raised. It's going to be embossed. The opposite side, that doesn't say Stampin' Up, it has the made in China or wherever it's made, that is going to be the part that pushes the front up, and that side of the paper is going to be debossed. So it's going to be pushed in, but the embossed is going to be pushed up. So making sure that you know which way you're going. So this is the darker shade, and I want that to have the snowflakes on it raised so I can sand them. So I'm going to put that piece in here. Now these pieces, because this folder is so small, I can't do more than one piece at a time. But the other thing, great thing with the Stampin' Up embossing folders is, see the line? If you want to line something up, you can just use that line to line things up. If you're having trouble seeing how to line it up that way, turn it over, and then you can open it up, line it up on that line, and then you can close it. So if you have something that needs to be lined up, say this was trees, and you didn't want your trees looking wonky, but this being snowflakes that are going to be all over the place, it doesn't matter if I line that up. However, if I line up the first one, then the rest of them, if I put them on that line, they'll have the same amount of snowflakes. Because if you have a look, there's fewer snowflakes down one side, and there's far more. So that's like a blizzard here, and that's gently falling on the ground. So decide how you want your snowflakes to appear on the embossing folder. So I'm going to go ahead and emboss all 4 of these, and then I'll come back and show you the sanding technique. Okay, now that I've done that, I forgot to mention, when you emboss, you have a slightly different sandwich. And a sandwich is referring to how you put your plates together when you put it through the Stampin' embossing machine. So for this, because it's a 3D embossing folder, we start with the number 1 plate, which is quite thick. Then we put our cardstock inside the embossing folder and put the folded side first. So we're going to push it through that way. Got the word Stampin' Up on top. And then we use the number 4 plate because it's not a cutting plate and it gives you a bit more thickness. So we don't have any other plates there, and we put that through. And if you stagger them a bit, it's easier to push it through the machine. So that's our sandwich for this. The great thing with the Stampin' Up machine is it actually shows you and explains how to use it. So we were using this part down here, using with a 3D embossing folder. Okay, so pop it out, and then I'm going to show you how to change these pieces of paper. See, they look kind of nice, but if we stick them on our box like this, it doesn't stand out quite as much. It stands out a little bit better than my original box that was all the same color. but it doesn't stand out quite as much as I'd like. So what we're going to do is we're going to sand it. Now, if you're an avid crafter, you might already have a sanding block. If not, don't worry. You can just get sandpaper or even a nail file, not a really thick, rough one, but a thinner one. So this sandpaper is actually 800. Most of the DIY work I've done around my house, I've gone up to maybe 120. So this is actually very, very thin. So with the sandpaper, you simply sand over the cardstock. And I'm going to put a scrap piece of paper underneath because you will get some of the paper coming off and making a slight mess. So you can either just use your hand and sand over it. So this is what it looks like. It's all the same color. That's the light back side. That's the darker front side. And if you just gently sand over there with your fingers, I'll just show you straight away. See? The white core comes out. So we're basically sanding away some of the color. Now, if you don't want to use your fingers, or you want to get more control, take a block, wrap the sandpaper around the block, and then you can just hold that to help you sand. I like sanding in circles. I think I get a better effect if I sand in circles. So I'm just going to do these. And so you can see the snowflakes are now really coming out and really coming into their own. So it's making it very nice. So I'll sand half of this, and then you can see the difference between a sanded section and a non-sanded. So that can only be done with this new two-tone white core cardstock. So see the white snowflakes, and that's one that hasn't been sanded over here. So see the difference? And then if we stick it on the cardstock, this definitely shows up much better than that. Now when you're sanding, you don't want to push too hard because you don't want to deep press it down. Now see how I mentioned before, this is the back side where it didn't have the Stampin' Up words on the embossing folder. That's what's called debossed, so it's pressed in. Embossed is where it's pressed out. So that's an embossed. And that's why when we usually use our folders. So I'm just going to pause the video and get these all sanded. Now the other thing I was thinking to do, remember my strips? I was thinking I am going to emboss those as well. So when I make the bow, I'm going to have little snowflakes all over the bow. So I'm going to do that as well off camera. So you don't have to watch me sanding, and I'll come back and show you how to put the rest of it back together. Okay, so I think that's really added to the wow factor of the cardstock. So hopefully you can see. We now have all these lovely white snowflakes. And I did it onto the bows as well. So I chose to do the bows. So these long ones, I didn't have much choice on how to put the strips in. But then this one I decided to line up, so I got snowflakes on every little part. That's the little piece that'll be in the center. Okay, so let's, the rest of it should go fairly quickly. Turn your panels over. And I like to use tear and tape for this section. Of course, oh, there's my tear and tape underneath my box. Okay, so I like to do tear and tape for this section, so it's just easier to put it together. Or you could do glue. Actually, I might do glue because it'll make it quicker, since I've already put the panels together. Now remember, it's thinner cardstock than our normal ones, so don't push too hard. And because this embossing folder has more on one side and less on the bottom side, so we've got more snowflakes and snow and less, I'm going to put it where the more is at the top because, you know, it's like a gently falling at the bottom and a blizzard at the top. So with the glue, you can also use that to wiggle it into place. And then turn it over and just, you can use your bone folder or your hand to gently press it down if you're using glue. So we'll put these others together and then we'll try to show you how to do the bow I'm hoping to create. So once again, I want most of the snowflakes at the top and the least snowflakes at the bottom. And then once you're happy with that, turn it over, give it a press, a bit of a rub. And I'm just kind of rushing a bit because I'm worried that I don't know why the video stopped before, and I'm worried that it's going to stop again. And as I said at the beginning of the video, I don't have any extra cardstock, so I can't redo the video. I'm hoping I'll be able to splice both sections together. If not, you might be watching a part 2 of the original video, but we'll see. Okay, press that in. Got some of my cat's hair in there. One thing when you're a crafter, if you've got animals, you end up with hair all over the place. Okay. And where's my top? Okay, and the last panel. So see, already it's really making the box stand out with these panels. I'll bring it up closer so you can see. So see, it looks like it's completely different cardstock, but it's the same exact cardstock. And so right now we could just pop our top on, and there you can say the box is finished. Now these extra little panels, the pieces that were cut off, you could add those around there to give some added definition and color to each section, because those are the little 4 pieces. Remember we had 4 by 3.5 piece we cut out, and then we cut off this little half section. So you could put it there. I could even, you know, sand that down and put some snowflakes on it. I haven't decided if I want to do that because I came up with this idea of the bow. So here's a bow, and to make the bow similar to this one, you do your panels over. Where's my bone folder? Because it's cardstock, I'm just going to give it a little gentle curve. I'm going to curve all of the pieces gently. Then it'll make it fold a bit better. And I'm trying to keep the sizes together as well. Oh, I don't think I need it to do that one. That'll be the bottom part. Okay. So this bow, I'm going to try to do slightly different. I want to make this style of a bow. So it's the same pieces, but just done slightly different than this one, because I think this is a fuller looking bow. So your big pieces, you're just going to glue together the ends. So you just need a little bit. Actually, we'll do our middle pieces first. Middle pieces, glue a bit on the end there, and then you just press it down together and just hold it for a second, and it should stay. So you're going to get that shape. We'll do that with the other one. Some glue there, press it down, hold for a second or so. So see that it's nice, they all line up there and you get that shape. Now I want to have my 2 coming together, and those 2 little bits are going to be slightly underneath, so I don't want to glue them in place yet. So I also need to decide, do I want it with a little snow on the top or a lot of snow on the top? So I'm gonna just have a look and see what looks good. So that's a mix of a lot and a little. This would be a lot of snow on both. That's a little bit. I think I like it with the little. I think I'm liking the less. So I think I'm liking that way. Okay, so once you decide how you want it to go, then put your glue on the big piece. Slot one of the small ones in. You can do it at an angle like that. And then some glue on that little one there. So we've got medium one and big one, and we're just slotting them together. Just hold it for a second. Now you could slide this smaller one out if you want it to be fuller. It's up to you how you want your bow to be. And so a little bit of glue. So once again, a little bit of glue there. Oop. Take your other one. Now we're doing the opposite side, so make sure you doing that. If you get it messed up, you can turn them over. But because I embossed on these, I want them to be similar. And then pop a little bit of glue there and put your big piece down. Hold it in place. Could do this with glue dots or tape if you want. I do find here in New Zealand, because Christmas is our summertime, so here in New Zealand quite often if you use tape or glue dots, the heat makes it come apart. So using actual liquid glue is better. So now the center part, I could put either direction. On this one, I had them going the same way. And then this center, it's going opposite way. And then there was another one I did where I think I actually managed to get it to tuck in behind. And I might try that. So I think to get that effect, I'll put some glue on the inside. This is the smallest one. So the smallest one gets put together differently. It's a curve, kind of like the knot on a bow if you were to do a fabric bow. So this one here, I'm now just going to tuck those ones in, and that's going to make a nice big bow there. So those bits there, I'm just going to put a little glue on the part I want to be tucked in. And so see where the seam is? Oop. I'm going to stick that underneath and hold it in place so it looks like the bow is coming out from the knot in the middle, which it's not. It's just pretending to be. So I'm just going to hold that in for a bit. Okay. This time I saw the message. It said maximum file size reached. So, which is weird because I never had that before. So we're going to, this is the third part of the same video. Hopefully we'll get them all together. So some glue on the bottom section, slide it into the middle, which also helps to flatten that a bit. Hold it in place. I got the SD card, a bigger SD card, so I wouldn't have problems with file sizes. So I don't know what's going on. I thought I had adjusted where it's going to save it. I never had problems with file sizes in all the years I've been doing videos on my phone. I'd run out of battery and other issues. Okay, so there, that's the bow. And so the last bit you have, you simply cut in half, and then you can flag the end to make it look like it's the tied part of a bow. So to flag easily, you just do line up the middle and then come in from each corner. Now I've got them folded over, so it'll be exactly the same. And then come in from one corner to that center bit. I think that's called flagging. So now we've got those two pieces that look the same, and now we're going to glue those to the back of the bow. So put a bit of glue again in the same place. So if you notice this bow, all the bits are being glued pretty much in the same section. And I will hold that there for a little bit, just on the back. And then this one here, glue on that section and then hold it. And this is where you can adjust it to make it look the way you want it to look. Okay. So now I find the easiest way to get it to stay on the box is with a glue dot. I mean with a dimensional. So there's our bow for our box. Coming off the edge. Oh, I quite like how that's looking. So there is the bow, and I'm just going to put a couple dimensionals on the back. And if I overlap it on part of the section that's glued, then it'll help hold it in place. And then we can just pop that bow. Now remember, this is thin cardboard, so you don't want to push too hard. So if I pull it off, I can just press, hold that. So there is our beautiful snowflake box, all done. Now I was thinking before I did this that it might look a bit boring on the sides. So I've actually, I cut and colored the snowmen and the presents from the Filled with Cheer. It's an online stamp set. So I colored those in ahead of time, thinking that if it doesn't look very good, I could just put those on the sides. But I like it the way it is. So that just shows you, if you wanted to, you could then decorate the sides of your box. But honestly, I think this came out really nice. I like how the snowflakes have shown up on the edge and the way the bow came out. Now you can fluff it up if you want, but I do like how the bow came out there and the sides of the box. So I quite like that, and I'm going to leave it. It's kind of an elegant Christmas box. So there's that box there, and then here is my first original prototype. And as I showed before, you can easily put a mug inside it and different types of bows. So for this bow, I would have used all the same pieces, but I would have put them opposite each other. So the center would have gone that direction, and those two would have sat on top of the bigger ones, and it would have just gone straight across. So this just shows a different way of doing the same bow. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you'd like to see some more videos. And check the link below, the links that I'm going to put in the description, so you can go to the other demonstrators videos and see more ideas on making boxes this month with the Global Monthly Video Hop. Thanks so much for watching, and see you next time. Bye.